Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we're learning how to cut a Batwing Peplum top. So let's get started. Okay, so you're going to need your pattern paper, and I've already folded my pattern paper into two here already. So this is the edge of my fold. This is my shoulder line, and of course my underbust line. So my shoulder to my underbust measurement is 14. So you have to measure yours. This is not a fixed value. So that's it. So my shoulder line and my underbust line. Now on the shoulder line, I'm going to mark half of my across back measurement, and I'll mark the same thing on the underbust line. Then from that point, I'm going to measure my sleeve length. So I'm working with 17 inches. You can decide to increase yours. Then you mark the same value on the underbust line and draw a straight line. So you have a big rectangle. Now I'm going to cut this out. So I've cut it out already. Okay, now just a quick recap. This is my my shoulder line and my underbust line, and then of course the edge of the fold is facing me. Now I'm going to mark my neck width, and I'm working with 3.5. You don't want it to be too wide, and the neck depth I'm working with 7 inches. So you could increase or you could reduce it, depends on your choice. So I'll just connect it together like so, and then I'm going to cut off the unwanted parts. So it is with this that we're also going to draft out the back pattern. Now I'm going to fold my fabric into two and place the front pattern on the fabric. So okay, so I have folded my fabric into two like I said, and I've placed my pattern on it. So I have added seam allowance to the shoulder, 1/2 inch, 1 inch seam allowance to the sleeve opening, 1/2 inch allowance to the waist, the underbust line, I beg your pardon, and of course 1/2 inch to the neckline. Okay, so I have already cut out the front, and now I have folded my fabric into two again to cut out the back. So the only difference would be to add 1 inch to the back for your zipper allowance. So I'll just add 1 inch here. So I've used my chalk to create 1 inch zipper allowance, okay, but the neckline is still the same. So the difference between the front and back is just the zipper allowance. Now I want to use the front as a guide to cut out the back pattern, just like I'm doing right now. Okay, so this is my back pattern and the front pattern. So the next thing we're going to do now is to cut facing for the front and back pattern. So to cut your facing, you fold your fabric into two like so, and then you're going to place the front pattern. We're starting with the front. You place the front pattern on the facing like I've done now. So this is my front pattern, and this is the folded fabric. Okay, this is the edge of my fold. I'll place my front on it and then cut out the facing. Now the facing is just like your lining. It's just a smaller piece compared to the lining. So I will just trim off the unwanted parts on the neckline like so. Then I'll take off my front pattern, and then I will go ahead to mark the width of my facing. So I'm doing 4 inches. The longer the better, okay? But when your facing is short, there's tendency for it to, to be flipping out of the neckline. So just make it at least 4 or more. So you can see I'm marking 4 inches round. Now with my ruler, I'm going to, highlight the shape of the facing properly so that I can cut out. So you can see my facing, okay? So I'm just trying to blend up and then I'll cut out. So it's just the same process for the back too. So I'm just cutting out the front facing. The only difference from the front and the back is the zipper allowance. It's the same thing. So this is the facing for my front. Okay, now I'm going to fold my fabric into 2 again to cut the back facing. So I've folded my fabric into 2. This is the edge of my fold. I place my back pattern on it, and then I'm going to cut out the unwanted part of the neckline too before we mark the width of the facing. Yeah. Okay, so I cut out. I'll just take off the back pattern now, and then same thing. I'm going to mark 4 inch for the width of my facing. So I'll just, link everything together, and then I'll cut out. So let me just highlight it properly so that we can see and do all the proper blending. Now I'm going to cut out the facing for the back. So like I said, the only difference between the front and back is the zipper allowance. And then I'll just cut here open because this is where the zipper is going to pass through. Okay, so using the front as an example, I want to show us how the facing is going to lie on the bodice. So this is my front facing. I've placed it on the neckline. You can see how perfectly it blends with the neckline. So you just sew 1/2 inch. We're not sewing now anyway. I'm just showing us. Okay, so it's the same process for the back. It's the same thing, just that the back is cut open and the front is cut on fold. That's the difference. Now we're going to go to the peplum. Okay, so for the peplum, we're not cutting a circular peplum, we're cutting a rectangular peplum. So you're going to measure your waist circumference. First of all, we need to determine the length of the peplum. Now what you do is you subtract the length of your underbust plus 2 inches for band, and then you subtract that number from your blouse length. Whatever is remaining will give you the length of the peplum, and you also add your 1 inch seam allowance. That's half inch to both sides. Okay, then the width will be 3 times your waist circumference plus 2 inches for zipper allowance. So for instance, my waist is 30 times 3 will give me 90 plus 2 inches for zipper allowance. And I'll also cut lining, and I'm using the same fabric as my lining. So that's for the rectangular peplum. And then we're also going to cut out a band. Now the height of the band, I'm using 2 inches. Then I added half inch for seam allowance. That's extra 1 inch. Then the length of the band is my waist circumference plus 2 inches for that. And I've also used the fabric as my lining. So I have 2 pieces for my band. Okay, so let's get started with the sewing tutorial. Okay guys, so to start sewing, we're going to start from the front. Okay, you place your facing on the bodice and sew with half inch on the neckline like so. That's for the front. And for the back, like the same thing, you sew half inch around the neckline. Then for the front, okay, you want to create a clip where you have the deep V, else the facing will not lie flat around the neck. So you just create like 2 or 3 clips around the V, like I'm doing. Can you see? So that by the time you flip in the facing, okay, you don't have any tiny folds. It's just lie flat after pressing. That's the function of clipping it. Can you see? Okay, then one more tip for your facing. Okay, for the back, you're sewing with 1/2 inch all the way to the zipper allowance. Same thing for the other side. Then I was talking about the tip. Yeah, I'll talk about that later. Okay, so back to the tip. Yeah, so for the tip, what you want to do is you want your facing to lie flat. So what do, you stitch the seam allowance to the facing with 1/4 of an inch. That way your facing is going to lie very flat. You know, even after ironing, the facing won't be coming out of the neck. So now I'm going to go ahead to join the front and back bodies together at the shoulder, half inch, you know, seam allowance all the way down. Okay, so after joining the front and back together at the shoulder, that's the bodice, you want to measure 5 inches away from the sleeve opening. Measure 5 inches from here, you mark it, then we're going to sew with 1/2 inch from the sleeve opening to that 5 inch mark, and we're going to repeat the same process on this other side here. From the sleeve opening, you're going to mark 5 inch, and we're going to sew with 1/2 inch up to that point. So let's do that. Okay guys, I've sewn my 5 inch mark on both sides of my blouse. Yeah, and this is the other side here. So the next thing now, obviously, the remaining width of the blouse on the underbust line is obviously more than your waist circumference. So what you want to do now is you are going to make ruches, or should I say gathers, or should I say ruffles. You have to ruffle everything back from the back right to the front and to the other end of the back. You want to make ruffles like this, like I'm doing, and gather it back to your waist circumference. So you calculate, you're going to measure the total weight from back to front, back to the other side, and then gather it back to your waist circumference. Okay, it's as simple as that. And please do not gather the zipper allowance part. Make sure you leave that 1 inch before you start the gathers of the rushes, so that when you're fixing your zip, you will not have any issues. It's very important. Same thing, leave 1 inch before you start the gathering or the rushes. Okay, so is that simple? Yeah, so let me do that. Okay guys, so I've done it. So like I said, you can either use gathers, you can use ruffles, you can do manual gathering too. So I've done that. Now from the center front all the way to the back, all through, my total length is now 32. My waist circumference is 30. So this is my zipper allowance, 1 inch, and 1 inch on the other side too. So that's why that what makes it 32. Okay, now we are going to work on the peplum. So for the peplum, we need our band and we need the rectangle we cut out. So my band, I have 32 inches here, 30 inches for my waist, 2 inches for my zip allowance, and I've also added paper stay. For stability, you can use S-stay, you can use any form of interfacing just to give the band stability. Same thing for my rectangular peplum. I have added interfacing to the fabric to give it stability, and this is the lining. So now I am going to stitch both fabric and lining together with 1/2 inch all the way down. So let me do that. Okay guys, so I have stitched it together and I've given it a very good press. Okay, yeah, I used the same fabric as the lining, so don't get confused. So now I have notched the center of the rectangle and the center of my blouse too. so that when I want to fix them together, they will align properly. Now from this notch, I'm going to mark 2 inches away. Okay, so this is going to be then 4 inches. So that 2-inch mark will be my first placement for my pleats. Okay, then from here to here is 4 inch. This is my center from my center. So now I am going to make my first pleat after the 2-inch mark and fold. So I've folded the 4-inch inside now. You get it? It's very easy. After the center front, you mark 2 inches and you mark 4 inches and then fold the 4-inch in at the 2-inch mark. It's that simple. Then I'm going to measure another 4 inches again. That is going to be my second pleat. Like that. Then I'll fold anti-clockwise direction. I'm trying to take off my pin. Yeah, so I'll fold in an anti-clockwise direction like this. And then I'm going to pin it down like I've done with the first one. Okay, so then you mark 4 inches again like that. Then you also mark another 4 inches. So the second 4 inches you're marking now will be the next pleat. You understand? The first 4 inches I marked is the interval between the previous pleat. It's very easy, honestly. It's very easy. So now I am going to, create the pleats now and show us the outcome. So here it is. We have an inverted box pleated peplum. And this is my center front. You can see that the interval of each of the pleats is 4 inches. You can make yours wider or shorter, whichever one you prefer. It's your choice. Now I'm going to attach this to my band, and everything I've pleated here now is equivalent to my waist circumference plus 2 inches for zipper allowance. Okay, so now I'm going to place my peplum in between the fabric and the lining of the band. Can you see what I've done? Like this. So I'm going to sew it round. Alright guys, I'm done sewing the peplum. You can see how neat it looks. Okay, and the interfacing is already giving it some form of structure already. Okay, now I am going to attach the waistline of the blouse to the waistline of the peplum. Now please don't forget the 5 inches we already sewn initially. We're not attaching that part to the peplum, please. That's the 5 inches we marked towards the sleeve opening. Yeah, we're not attaching that. Okay, so I've attached the peplum to the blouse, and the shape is already coming out all nice and clean. Can you see? Okay, now for the sleeve, you can attach elastic to it. It's optional, but it's better. Now I'm going to fold this 1/2 inch. I'm going to fold twice. That's 1 inch. 1/2 inch in 2 places. I want to create a casing for my elastic. Then you leave about 1/2 inch opening for us to pass the elastic. So let me do that. Okay, so I've created my casing, and I've cross left an opening of 1/2 inch to pass the elastic. Now to measure the elastic, you measure your bicep measurements, and then you just take about 1 or 2 inches away from it. So that will be the length of the elastic. Okay, then with your safety pin, you're going to pass the elastic into the casing that we created, like so. So once you pass it round and the elastic comes out the other side, you stitch down the 2 elastic together, I mean the mouth, or the tip rather, and then you close up the 1 inch that we left open on the casing. So let me just show us. This is it. Okay, so make sure you close up the opening, and then repeat the same process for the other side of the blouse. It's already coming out. It's very nice. For the shoulder, this is optional. You can add elastic here if you want to, but it's not necessary. It's not. Now the last step will be to go and fix our zipper, and the blouse is ready. So this is the final outcome of the top. Very lovely, very lovely. So please make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Give us a thumbs up. Leave your questions and all. Thank you very, very much for watching. I remain